From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, September the 14th, 2021. Bahrain's ambassador to Israel presented his credentials today to Israel's President Isaac Herzog at the president's residence in Jerusalem. Herzog tweeted of the event that the partnership between our countries is a model for the whole Middle East, and I hope that other states in our region will be inspired by it. Ambassador Khaled Al-Jalama tweeted of what he said was an honor as Bahrain's first ever ambassador to Israel on the eve of the anniversary of the historic Abraham Accords. Tomorrow, September the 15th, marks the one-year anniversary of the signing of the Accords at the White House, which normalized ties between Israel and Bahrain, as well as between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. A special ceremony was held to mark the auspicious occasion yesterday, hosted by the Israeli mission to the UN at the Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York City. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, saluted his fellow ambassadors from around the world in attendance yesterday, including the ambassador from Bahrain, Jamal Al-Rawai, from the UAE, Lana Nusseibeh, from Morocco, which also recently normalized ties with Israel, Omar Hilale, and also the ambassador from the United States to the UN, Linda Thomas Greenfield. Erdogan spoke of the timing of the anniversary and his hopes for the future.
The one-year anniversary of the Abraham Accords falls in the 10-day period between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, when Jews around the world reflect on the past year and pray for the future. As we usher in the new year, I can confidently say that both our governments and our peoples have built the foundation for a new era in the Middle East. In this coming year, I hope to see us continuing to build new partnerships and working together to promote pragmatism and coexistence over extremism and intolerance.
Thomas Greenfield lauded the concrete improvement between countries since the signing of the Accords and spoke of extending the circle of peace.
It is our hope that these agreements, which are important in and of themselves, also generate momentum between Israel and the Palestinians. Peace begets peace, and friendships begets relationships. And that is what we are here to commemorate and to honor today.
More now for you from the meeting yesterday between Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah El-Sisi. The sit-down in Sharm el-Sheikh was the first visit to Egypt by an Israeli premier in a decade. Upon leaving Egypt, Bennett said the meeting was very important and very good. We created a foundation for deep ties in the future. We discussed a series of issues in the diplomatic, security, and economic spheres, as well as ways to deepen ties and strengthen the interests of our countries. The Times of Israel reported, by the way, that Bennett will be heading back to the United States in just under 2 weeks to address the United Nations General Assembly in New York City on September the 27th. And the Prime Minister was among the many in Israel and across the Jewish world extending condolences today on the passing of iconic former Soviet refusenik and Soviet Jewry activist Ida Nudel, who died in Israel today at the age of 90. Nudel fought for 16 years to come to Israel and was imprisoned in Siberia for 4 of those years. Her efforts, which included a campaign to provide humanitarian items for other imprisoned Soviet Jews or prisoners of Zion, earned her the name of Guardian Angel. Nudel finally arrived in Israel in 1987, famously with her dog by her side, whom she refused to leave behind. She continued her advocacy work in Israel, including for the children of Russian immigrants. Bennett wrote of Nudel, while she was short in stature, she had a giant spirit. Ida Nudel was an exemplar of Jewish heroism for us all. And President Isaac Herzog wrote, I remember as if it were today how my father, President Chaim Herzog was excited to welcome her warmly at the president's house upon her aliyah. It is important, he wrote, to remember and commemorate the story of the prisoners of Zion who in spirit and courage changed the world. May her memory be for a blessing. And President Herzog welcomed Israel's Paralympic delegation to the president's residence in Jerusalem today upon their recent return to Israel from Tokyo, bringing back with them 9 medals, 8 in swimming from Ami Dadaon, Mark Malyar, and Iyad Shalabi, and 1 medal in rowing from Moran Samuel. Herzog told the athletes, the spirit that you bring with you to sport is something that should be studied and should inspire. You keep winning because you believe it is possible. Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement, begins tomorrow evening, and as always, we will bring you services here on JBS. At 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, Orthodox Kol Nidre services from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by Reform services from Central Synagogue at 8. On Thursday, services for Yom Kippur begin at 8 a.m. from the Hampton Synagogue and 10 a.m. from Central Synagogue. With more services throughout the day, more information, as always, can be found on our website, jbstv.org. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, September the 14th. At 7 o'clock, a panel discussion from Limmud NY 2018 on Jewish responsibility. At 8 o'clock, it's more from our new series, Durban Revisited. B'nai B'rith UN Director David Michaels leads a panel discussion on anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism with Israeli Ambassador to Azerbaijan George Deek, British Baroness Ruth Deech, former Deputy U.S. Antisemitism Monitor Ellie Cohanim, and Jerusalem's Deputy Mayor Fleur Hassan-Nahoum. At 9, Mark Golubs sits down with 3 rabbis to discuss the Jewish understanding of God ahead of Yom Kippur with Chaim Steinmetz, Lauren Grabelle Herrmann, and Marcelo Kormis. At 10:30, Rabbi Joseph Telushkin shares important teachings of Judaism and Jewish life. And coming up next, it's the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, September the 14th, 2021. I will be back with the news after Yom Kippur on Friday. Stay healthy, stay well, and Gmal Chatima Tova.